Muy buenas a todos y a todes. No sé si me oigo, si no me oigo. Sí, sí me oigo. Muy buenas a esta cosa, que no sé si siquiera mencionar lo que es un directo porque todavía no lo tengo claro. Soy el perezoso y bienvenidos a un mundo de entretenimiento y diversión sin parangón. Hoy vamos a jugar. Mejor dicho, voy a jugar. Stanley Parable. Yo cuando era probador de videojuegos, había compañeros que decían que eran la leche, otros que era un peñazo y otros que, bueno, decía, es un timo. Entonces, vamos a ver cuál es. Esta es la edición Deluxe. Vamos a ver cómo va. Elige un idioma de título y texto en pantalla. O sea, entiendo que está en inglés. Pero tal, bueno, lo voy a poner en español para facilitar las cosas a la gente. Vamos a confirmar. ¿Jugaste Stanley Parable alguna vez? No. Vamos a, no vamos a mentir. Ajusta ahora hasta que la computadora apenas sea visible. Esto siempre me queda un poco raro porque apenas visible es así. Pero a mí me gusta dejarlo un poquito porque a veces, joder, se pasa. Confirmamos. Introduce hora actual. No tengo ni idea. ¿Ya me vas a vacilar como en Portal? Pues ahora mismo es la 1 menos cuarto. O sea, hay 45. No, bueno. PM. Ya es PM. Ya es PM. 12:45 PM. Confirmar, por cierto, post meridian, ¿eh? Puedes acceder a configuración de accesibilidad del menú principal. Gracias. Vamos a ver. Mira qué bien. Mira. Es un bucle infinito. Tenemos algo especial. Navegación con mando. Caminar con una mano. Mantén todo derecho e izquierdo del mouse para caminar. Bueno, no está mal. Presentación, idioma español, subtítulos, también subtítulo normal. Muy pequeño. Normal. A mí me gusta. Voy a dejarlo sin nada. Etiquetas los objetos. Esto dice nada cuando. Etiquetas traducidas sobre el texto del mismo juego. Advertencia de contenido. Vale, sí. Traducidas sobre el texto del segundo juego. No lo entiendo. Etiqueta de ejemplo. Voy a dejarlo, ¿no? Por sonido, tararí. Luego si se lo bajamos. Resolución sin borde. Pantalla completa, ventana o sin borde. ¿Vale? Controles simplificados. No necesita un control específico delante, saltar space, interactuar tampoco tiene mucho más. Bueno, pues vamos allá. Never ends, nunca el fin, nunca es el final, siempre se... Pues vamos a ver. La verdad es que... Haz clic para...
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Ya tengo. Vale, tiene una cámara flotante. Sí, vale. Pues tiene sus años. Parsing code providing partition for years. I hate Monday. Vamos a ver, porque este es mi cubículo. No puedo interactuar. Me saldrá algo con lo que puedo interactuar, entiendo. Silla. Hacía siglos que no había una silla así, pero siglos. A ver. Y claro, yo soy el 427. Vale. O sea que yo tengo que ir probando aquí. Esto no se puede.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Coño.
What could it mean?
Hey.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Por aquí. ¿Qué pasa esto? Joder, no hay nada. ¿Cómo vais a borrar memoria aquí por aquí? A ver, también puedo andar con esto, pero yo soy más de WhatsApp. No tengo un zoom, ¿no? Bueno. No puedo ir a ningún sitio. No te me cierres. Ah, mira qué bonito, qué bucólico. Casi colorado. Tampoco. Con permiso voy a quitar la música. No por nada, sino porque me pone nervioso. Me pone muy nervioso. Ya, sí, yo creo que es más inmersivo sin música. 425. Ah, que tiene dos accesos. Keep dry. Hola. I'm the police. Oh, I think nada.
Stanley clicked on literally every single door in the office because he doesn't pick up well on cues from his environment.
Qué grande. Qué puya va a tirar, cabrón. Ah, vale, que la hora es la misma. La ponen tal cual. Vale. Bueno, no, coño. Es la 1:15. Me estoy yo flipando muy fuerte. I hate Mondays. Otra vez. Ah. Starway to Heaven. Hola. Pues ahora quiero seguir abriendo puertas. Hola. Madre mía, parece Jesucristo. Hola. Joder, esto se
When
parece.
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Esto se parece a las backrooms. Mira, yo no soy muy fan, pero madre mía. Ya sabemos dónde la sacaron. Izquierda o derecha. Izquierda o derecha. Yo soy de derecha.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Ah, que le podemos calentar al narrador. Vale. Es cuarta pared total. Vale. Cuarta pared total. La leche, tú. O sea, es una oficina o algo. Pues parece un archivero que da directamente a la sala de mantenimiento, ¿no? Y aquí no tiene número. Aquí alguien con su despacho. La oficina es yankee total, pero yankee. Vamos a ver.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
No puedo interactuar.
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Las pinturas son muy buenas. Es una foto, una hoja, esto es el mar.
At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left.
Me encanta. Me encanta. Cómo se calienta. Venga, ahora sí.
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
A la izquierda. Pero aquí hay cosas más divertidas, no lo sé. Me va a cerrar, ¿no? La puerta de esto aquí que hay. Ah, bueno. Me gusta más la otra.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Ah, mira, es como un almacén logístico. Caution. Do not lie. If you're lying right now, stop. No mientas. Si te estás mintiendo, para ahora. Vale. Esto es como un despacho de gente de logística. Con tarjeta. Pues tazas ahí para aburrir, ¿eh? Aquí la gente bebe mucho café. Va. A ver. No salte desde el ascensor de carga. Este movimiento puede causar la muerte. Falta pago por multa por usar mal el ascensor, $1000. Por saltar, 5000. No sé. ¿Se va a poner a funcionar solo o qué?
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
¿Me está amenazando? Me está amenazando, ¿no? Así, sin pudor.
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Mira que yo soy irónico, ¿eh? Vaya, hombre, otra puerta. Ahora te estoy haciendo caso. Voy andando en la única puerta y no puedo coger aquí. ¡Vámonos! El toreto mecánico.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her.
Perdón.
If you can truly place your faith in another.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley. Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Hostia, tú. Se está dando... ¿Y puso otra? No sé. Ah, no, solo puedo usar P. Pues.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Bueno, al menos tengo tele.
But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Hostia, tú.
So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Qué rayada, tú.
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Madre mía.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it. You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Acabamos de morir. ¿Nos han matado o es una idea? O sea, a ver, el juego es una idea de hoyo muy grande. Llevo jugando 10 minutos. Empezamos de cero.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Hemos conseguido un
Stanley
final.
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Vale, vamos a ir a lo que nos ha dicho.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Sale.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Y tú, estas reuniones, tío, qué asco. Reuniones de pérdida de tiempo. Vaya oficina más rara.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
¿Le hacemos caso? ¿Le hacemos caso en todo lo que nos diga? Parece un burdel de los años 20. Madre de Dios.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Qué fumada, tío. Esto es un edificio en obra. Qué fumada más